SiriusXM.com to sign up quickly.
Amazing moments happen so much at SiriusXM. We want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
What are you listening to in the morning? Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly and activate your radio. Imagine waking up to the biggest names in morning entertainment. Howard Stern, Today Show Radio, news from CNN, Fox News, Bloomberg, NPR, or sports talk on NFL, MLB, NASCAR radio, and more. Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now. Activate your radio and begin exploring more than 140 channels.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018-14868.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is John of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe. And that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up, fool. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm trying to hear what's going on with the legislation of California. They're passing bills. My show's going to be so different today because some things are more important than touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Old man Willie, he is going all the way. I'm going to listen into some things that are happening with the state capitol. But I always want to say I really do appreciate Big C Sports Podcast. But I know the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and that's why I want to get into today's show. It's going to be a whole lot different. We had the passage yesterday in the legislation at the state capitol of Senate Bill 1050, and I do appreciate that provides restitution and compensation for eligible residents whose property was taken unjustly by certain state actions. Now we're waiting for Senate Bill 1331, and that's going to pass. It creates a state fund to support current, future reparations for descendants of chattel slavery and the funding for that. And then also waiting for the passage of Senate Bill 1403 creates a state agency to help residents verify eligibility and carry out reparations policies. Also today, Assembly Member Reginald Joel Sawyer spoke, and they are getting the apology. The apology passed by 53-0 also for slavery and reparations. That's part of that reparations bill that Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer worked on. So I really do appreciate that. I got so much that I want to bring to the show today with Big C Sports Podcast. It's going to be a little bit different today because I always want to do things that are current and not just something for entertainment purposes. More than the people who got the $100 million over 3 years for giving you who won a game. To me, that does nothing for the people, and that's why Big C Sports Podcast deserves $100 million. And I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it every day. I'm claiming it. I want to say with the Big C Sports Podcast, not only am I one beautiful, intelligent black man, I come to you Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. worldwide. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows based on the sound effects provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter, and I love bringing more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I even do the storytelling. And then I do the play-by-play. Curry for 3. Yes! Getting a hold in your life. Reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. That's my story. And I'm sticking with it. And then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City. And streaming on 4 TV platforms. Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then I never missed a show. I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports with the crew back in the days at Salem Media. And now we got people who miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. And now we got people who miss practice, the great Allen Iverson. And then I love saying what I'll never miss is paying homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. And it's so nice when somebody's leaning back. I want to say thank you to oh my goodness, I really do love saying this. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty, reparations at last. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I believe so much in the power of prayer and in the power of persistence. And I want you to hear something that comes up with Big C Sports Podcast because a passage of a bill happened today with the inimitable Reggie Jones Sawyer, also part of the Legislative Black Caucus and the California Reparations Task Force. You can hear it from his own eyes and ears. From his own eyes and ears. I'll play it right now.
Staff and changing. Some changes that I think will work out were nice, and I really appreciate the work on that. I'm looking forward to supporting it today. And for that, I ask for an aye vote.
Mr. Patterson? Seeing and hearing no further debate, would you like to close, Mr. Jones Sawyer?
This has been a labor of love, and for my ancestors and for the rest of the members' ancestors. And for the Little Rock Nine, I think my grandmother, my grandfather will be extremely proud for what we are going to do today, because that is why they struggled back in 1957, so that I'd be able to be able to move forward our people in a much more productive way. So I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Jones Sawyer. Seeing and hearing no further debate. To vote. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. We'll close the roll, tally the vote size 53, noes 0. Senate amendments are concurred in.
So you heard from the mouth of Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer that the state of California has issued an official apology to slavery. That's another good sign for the atonement of slavery. and for reparations for descendants of child slavery. You heard it with his own mouth, and I really do appreciate bringing you that on Big C Sports Podcast. My show is going to be somewhat different today because I want to play some live words from the state capitol and the legislators that are passing bills today. They all have to be passed between today and tomorrow night. So my show is different. I do love bringing you Big C Sports Podcast, but part of what I believe in, Jesus said, if you love me, feed my sheep, and the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. I'm the only sports show in the universe that will bring you live passes of bills from the California state legislators and also some sports with Big C Sports Podcast. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I also want to make sure that what I do with Big C Sports Podcast is I want to make sure that I give praise to the people who make life happen and who make laws happen in the great state of California, the Golden State, where things happen in California. They tend to sweep the nation, but we know California is very progressive, and oftentimes people either lead, follow, or get out of the way. But in California, a lot of people, they love to lead. That's why I bring you Big C Sports Podcast, the number one sports show in the universe. Talking sports and reparations. Nobody does it better, if that makes sense to you. And if they are out there, please speak now or forever hold your peace. Speak now, forever hold your peace. I want to give praise, as my show is different today. I want to start giving praise to the inimitable Dr. Shirley Weber, part of the California Reparations Task Force. She worked together with Governor Gavin Newsom to mandate a reparations task force, and they came up with 9 members, and I really do appreciate the work that they're doing. And I want to give them my own praise with Big C Sports Podcast because nobody does it more than Big C Sports. I want to give praise to the chair, Camila Moore. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. Part of the California Reparations Task Force. Now, you photobombed the Big C Sports show. When I took a photo at the reparations hearing, I want you to come on the Big C Sports Podcast. I want to bring that to you as well. I want to give her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Emmett C. Brown, the vice chair. He also came on the Big C Sports Podcast just about 3 months ago for Big C Sports Podcast. Really do appreciate him. And he gave the benediction at the Democratic National Convention, but he came on the Big C Sports Podcast first, and I really do appreciate him. I'm going to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford, who's like Moses, because he's there fighting hard for the reparations. 1050 already got through. Really do appreciate him waiting for 1331 and 1403. Senator Bradford also crafted name, image, and likeness that allows a lot of student athletes to get paid on their name, image, and likeness, and he crafted that bill. He also crafted the Ebony Alert that allows law enforcement to put the same resources into finding missing black children as the Amber Alert puts into finding missing white children. Really do appreciate him. I met him several times at his office and also at reparations meetings. I gave him a package that I want his help with getting throughout the state of California, a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth with the Big C team and the RDC team. I love giving them praise. I want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Stepp. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He also came on the Big C Sports Podcast last Friday, and he talked about a bill that just got passed today, an official apology from the state of California. And they passed that today. You heard him speak as I played an excerpt on the Big C Sports Podcast. I'm so honored that I spoke with him last Friday, and now today, Thursday, the bill that he wanted to pass has got the approval. SB 1313, the Safe Roads Act. And it was, I believe, a 53-0 vote. That's another good sign for the atonement for reparations and the fact that California played a role in slavery as a fugitive state. California would return slaves to the slave states. That's a crime against God. To say in God we trust and have slavery is an oxymoron. They can't be mutually exclusive. You can't have slavery under in God we trust. It doesn't make sense. SB 1313. So I really do appreciate Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer coming on the Big C Sports Podcast, and also for his great work in the state capital of California. I want to thank and give him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise She's doing a lot of work in the Golden State. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. She also specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Really do appreciate her. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California, Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. For all the people who think, well, we've already done enough that we can. We apologize for slavery, and we want to believe that everything is fair. We did not get part of the Homestead Act. African Americans were excluded from it. Excluded from the Homestead Act. And that's not right. We should have been included in it. Where the United States government gave away 160 acres of land to white individuals. And even white Europeans. And I want to make sure that part of Big C Sports Podcast is making sure that I can do my part. I want to have another bill introduced by Senator Bradford.
High taxes, excessive regulatory hurdles, and various challenges that the cannabis businesses face have done little to help the legal cannabis market succeed the way that voters intended when Prop 64 was passed. SB 1059 would specifically eliminate a local government's collection of double taxation. In some jurisdictions, including the city of Los Angeles, local cannabis taxes or fees are calculated after the state excise tax is applied. This calculation method is unfair to consumers and disadvantages licensed retailers that continue to struggle against a thriving illicit market. SB 1059 addresses this issue and ensures that local taxes are based on the actual goods being sold. This bill has received bipartisan support and has no opposition, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Assemblymember Bonta. Seeing and hearing no further debate, clerk will open the roll. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the votes. Ayes 60, noes 0. Measure passes. File item 178, SB 1286, Senator Min by Mr. Kalra.
Another bill passes by California Senator Stephen Bradford, and that's another sign that good things are happening with the state of California. Really do appreciate the knowledge and all the support of these great legislators that are doing their part to make California the golden state that we all can be proud of. All's fair in love and war. Really do appreciate that. So I gave you the California Reparations Task Force, but I know we're talking about reparations, and I want to make sure that we listen to the greatest speaker in the history of this country when it comes to reparations.
Martin Luther King, we had a conversation a couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, Today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America. And it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up on my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, here's Martin Luther King, or Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the complete, and didn't just steal it, I mean, murdered them, murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. It's a strong case for reparations or some variation of it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
Reparations now! Reparations forever! Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last! That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I told you, my show is always different, and I love bringing you live coverage from the state legislators in the beautiful state of California. But I also want to add, I have a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth, Resource Development Consulting, Inc., in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and attorney George Jones. The missing link is long-term care, solutions by the book, helping seniors get their benefits over 3 decades of experience, helping seniors get their benefits. Medicare and You, taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. In other states, it's called Medicaid. Really do appreciate that with Big C Sports Podcast. Now, our promise to you, I love giving you the promise that I have with Big C Sports Podcast. Our promise to you is your family can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options by calling 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. And when you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. You're not going to hear this on other programs. What I love about doing with Big C Sports Podcast is I want to bring you things that are not just sports. I'm going to talk about some sports too, but it's nowhere near as important for all the beautiful and intelligent young men and women out playing sports for free for the most part as what reparations will do for our economy. It's going to stimulate the economy, but it's a long overdue need. It's a necessary that needs to happen, and it will happen in California first. The state of New York is also trying to follow what we're doing. But back to the RDC team with the Big C team. Our promise to you is to specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits and protection of your assets. We got to do that without a spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by a staff of entitlement specialists. That's important. We all have ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. We have benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, and medical equipment costs, and more. But not only that, protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. Now, when it comes to asset protection, I told you Senate Bill 1050 passed in California. And that's so important. And that's part of what African Americans could not benefit from because we were not protected. When you realize how important it is, and we have a way that you can put your properties in a trust and protect your assets, African Americans were not allowed that opportunity. And that's why properties were taken from African Americans illegally. When I talk about asset protection, that's so powerful because Senate Bill 1050 provides restitution and compensation for eligible residents whose property was taken unjustly by certain state actions in California. And Reginald Jones Sawyer, Assembly member, had that passed today. They issued an official apology. Senate Bill 1050 passed yesterday. in the state capital of California. So people are doing the right thing in California, and I love being a part of that with Big C Sports. It's so important that we have that. We gotta have that. You gotta understand how important that is to have asset protection, including your home, and thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. Avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate. If you don't have a will and a trust, especially a trust, the state of California has one for you at the end of life. And you will not like it. They can take between 10 to 40% of your assets. It's 7 out of 10 people in California do not have a trust, according to some attorneys that I spoke with over the week. We have a one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. That's important. You got to understand that. And at the same time, with the RDC team, people say, well, Big C, why would we listen to you? That's a good question. I'll tell you why. Because we have endorsements, and we offer them to you. Most people don't offer you endorsements because they don't have any. And our endorsements come from the state level, not just your friend down the block that loaned you some sugar, if that makes sense to you. We have the late James Gomez, who advised 4 California governors and led change in California's nursing homes. He served on Golden One's board of directors for 21 years. The late Jim Gomez was also the CEO of the California Association of Health Facilities. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, we have the late Robert Carlson. He was a top legal mind for CalPERS. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, we have George Jones, Esquire, the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce. Also, the California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, we have Attorney Scott Thibodeau, one of the top estate planners in Northern California. He endorsed the RDC team.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought about your...
But not only that, we have Mr. Leon Woods, Resource Development Consulting, also worked with many of the top lobbyists in California. He endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Miss Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. She endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Mr. Ray De La Cruz, the CEO of Resource Development Consulting. He endorses the RDC team, been doing his thing for over 34 years. But not only that, we have Mr. Alex De La Cruz. He's the founder of American Veterans Benefits. He endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Charlton Curry, the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project. I endorse the RDC team. But not only that, business development consultant with the RDC team. But not only that, owner of Big C Sports Corporation, the #1 sports show in the universe. I endorse the RDC team. When you listen to Big C Sports Podcast, you can eat. It's not just about touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Old man Willie, he's going all the way. Now, what does a trust do for you, if that makes sense to you? It protects you. Insurance coverage required by a law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance policies, veterans benefits, aid and attendance. We have pre-planning and avoid the look-back period. We have fixed assets. What are fixed assets, Big C? Well, I'm glad you asked. Your bank account. This is what attorneys come after if you don't have a trust. Your bank account, your checking account, your savings account, your money market accounts, your certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, your fixed indexed annuities. It also comes after we protect your variable assets. What are variable assets, Big C? I'm glad you asked. Your real estate, your qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, and other investments. Avoid capital gains. For example, you buy a house for $100,000 and say in 1 year that house appreciates to $1 million. Well, that's a $900,000 capital gains. You avoid that when the property's in a trust, if that makes sense to you. Over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners, over 3 decades of experience. Over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners, are you out of your fucking mind? You know, I'm a Trekkie, so I love when Captain Kirk would say, Spock, are you out of your fucking mind? Or maybe Scotty said it to him also, especially when the Darth Fleet is trying to show up and take the USS Starship Enterprise. You can find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. You get that with the Big C Sports and the Big C team and the RDC team. You want to give that some praise, and that's worth $100 million. Not the guy sucking and jiving and got nothing to offer you other than who won a game. Have you not been entertained? Who won the game? You! You won the game. The game of life. You get that with the Big C Sports and the RDC team. But not only that, we have Double O. She's the PR committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. Has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. She endorses the RDC team. She's also a consultant with the RDC team. You can Google that on Access in Sacramento. You got to give that some praise. I say give it praise, 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 because we all need somebody to lean on, and it's so good when somebody's leaning back. Now, I know I got you focused on what's happening in the world of Big C Sports, but also some things happening at the state level of the Capitol. And I want to bring on some live coverage of some of the bills that are being passed at the state of California. Listen with your own eyes and ears.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think this is an important bill. I rise in support of this bill. And of course, we have social media platforms where there can be things that are problematic. And so I support this, working with having the hotline to help law enforcement and connect, also help with search warrants that may be needed. So as I know we've all been working on many of these different issues, I think it's very important as we work through today that we put a lot of thought and discussion into these bills that we're going to be considering today. Maybe especially on support bills, that we get up and we talk about why we're supporting these measures. I think that's important in this legislature today. So again, I just want to rise in support of this, and thank you all for hearing my thoughts as we all come together on this support bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Seeing and hearing no further debate, the clerk will open the roll. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 56, no 0. Measure passes. Moving to file item 41, SB 1193.
Last October, the Federal Environmental Protection Agency announced its final determination that emissions of lead from aircrafts that use leaded fuel causes or contributes to air pollution that endangers public health under the Clean Air Act. Amendments taken in the Assembly remove opposition from the Pilots Association, the Airports Association, and fuel industries. With that, respectfully ask for an aye vote on SB 1193.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Mr. Patterson, you are recognized.
Thank you. I rise with a cautionary note with respect to this bill. I've been a private pilot since I was 17, flown all types of aircraft. The damage that this is going to do to general aviation is going to be substantial. And if you have general aviation airports in your districts, I think we have to be very, very careful about making such a significant change. Let's first of all recognize that there's a large fleet of general aviation aircraft who their engines are fuel injected. It is impossible to utilize unleaded fuel in fuel injected airplanes. These are the larger capacity aircraft. What you're going to find is the owners of these airplanes are going to fly out of the state of California, and they're going to go into like a neighboring state, and they're going to fill up. The damage to those engines is absolute. I mean, you can't fly one of these airplanes with fuel injection. Those airplanes' engines will cease to function. Also, the availability of unleaded is really a serious matter. I think there are going to be supply problems. The airport associations and these others have raised the concern that the small airports in the rural areas are going to be not have supply because the larger airports. There's also a cost factor in this. It's $6 a gallon now for the leaded. The unleaded estimates the cost is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $12 to $15 an hour. That's going to drive up the cost of general aviation. It's going to drive up the cost of our flight training associations on our smaller airports. When people are renting aircraft, they pay a wet fee. That means that it's full when they take it out. There's going to be a surcharge on top of that rental fee that is going to drive a lot of these instruction operations out of business. But I want to draw attention to some of the underlying
All right, you heard from a gentleman that wants to make sure that rich people can keep flying airplanes, even though some of the fuel is not healthy when they're flying over residential neighborhoods. And that's why most airports are away from residential neighborhoods. But even the rich people have their own problems. They want to know, can they fly their airplanes over neighborhoods? And they should not have to have cleaner fuel, because it may make it more expensive for billionaires and multimillionaires to fly airplanes. Are you out of your fucking mind? Clean air fuel is good for the people underneath, the people who live in the neighborhoods where the airplanes are flying over. But you have California, you can vote for anything you want to vote for. People have a right to vote for what they want to vote for, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I do want to tell you, I love being different on Big C Sports Podcast. I want to always try to bring you something that's good, something that's fresh, so that we can all understand that there's more to life than just playing with balls. My whole life I've been playing with balls. Touchdown! Home run! 3-point play! Oh man, Willie! He's gone all the way. You know, speaking of that, I do love bringing you a Big C Sports Podcast. I have another moment at the State Assembly and the legislators that I want you to hear. Before I get into some college football predictions, I want you to hear that politics and sports, it all goes together for smart people. This is about reparations for the first time in the history of this country happening for descendants of chattel slavery. We got the apology that passed by 53 yeas and 0 nays vote. Assembly member Reginald Jones Sawyer, part of the Legislative Black Caucus. Also, Senate Bill 1050 passed for eminent domain, giving back of land that was wrongfully taken. And now we're waiting for Senate Bill 1403 and 1331. I want to make sure that I get that into you to feel like everybody has a part in what happens in politics. Not just focus on who won a game, not just focus on who's going to win the kickoff, not just focus on who's going to make the playoffs, not just football, basketball, baseball, but I want to make sure I bring you things that are relevant to this great country, and it all starts here in the state of California. That's why I played you live excerpts from the legislators of California at the state capitol, and I'm also going to bring you Big C Sports, my thoughts and my predictions on college football. That's kicking off actually tonight in San Jose State, taking on Sacramento State, and then we also have North Dakota State travels to Colorado to take on Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. So I'm going to take that time to bring that to you, but I also want you to hear some music that comes out of Amend the Mass Media, All's Fair in Love and War, as they get ready for the celebration for reparations. As I say, reparations now, reparations forever.
Chromosomes, million armed activists, politicians, north the U.S. will work with precision. Marcus Garvey, Unity United, Rayford Johnson, all around after 9 counter sit-ins, Oklahoma City, Jamestown, home of the first place 50, Mother Van Peebles, sweet, sweet bag, sweet Eden, keeping it black, inclusive revolution, Bayard Weston, Alvia Gibson, Mr. Johnson, got NASA buzzing, MLK, great last speech, Marshall Washington with the protest feet. Wendell Scott, Colonel Blue Third. Kenny Washington, NFL word. When we talking about to turn it out. What we talking about?
Have you not been entertained? $100 million. $100 million. Reparations now. Reparations forever. The Just Act for descendants of chattel slavery. The JUST Act for descendants of chattel slavery. And now that you've been heard, may we stand up for the kickoff. May Latin strike. I love reparations. I love the legislative process that happens in beautiful Northern California. And you can be a part of it too with Big C Sports Podcast. You can even dance to it with the Big C Sports Podcast coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network. May Latin strike. Gotta have our reparations. We gotta have our justice. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. I said, what do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. May Latin strike. May Latin strike. As we stand up for the kickoff. Listen up, big guys. Listen up, Big C. FreedomMixHereNow.com. Before I give you Big C's thoughts on college football kicking off tonight in San Jose, California, with Sacramento State taking on the San Jose State Spartans. The Sacramento State Hornets gonna sting the Spartans. And also you got the North Dakota State Bison. They're taking on the Colorado Buffalo in Colorado. All's fair in love and war. I love bringing that to you on Big C Sports Podcast. The floor session in California, bringing you the votes in Big C Sports Podcast, bringing you the hits. $100 million. May Latin strike. Listen up, people. It's called Black August. It's time to pass reparations now. Reparations forever.
On this one, we have the rise of the Phoenix. George Jackson. From the day that we landed from all the ash, won the Wimbledon game, birthed the Henry at the last second. J-Ball was born with the fire next time. 1964 Jersey race, struggle is sublime. Speech of Frederick Douglass, no struggle is no progress. Florida gets rid of slavery, it was grotesque. Emancipation Day for the Black Freak Nation. Louis Armstrong, born the great trumpet sensation. Andrew Johnson denied the freedmen. Confiscation Act tried to patch the bleeding. Cali House and the ex-slave pension. North Pole Trailblazer Matthew Nine. Whitney Houston turned the Star-Spangled out. Isaac Hayes with the stars, no doubt. Watts rebelled, Black Chicago caught hell when the infamous riot tells. As we sing to go black, 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 black. Here we go, black, 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 black. Come on, say black.
Nam yo rinke yo, nam yo rinke yo, nam yo rinke yo, nam yo rinke yo.
Sweet, sweet back. QED, keeping it black. Turning Crucial Revolution. They are Weston. Althea Gibson, Mr. Johnson, got NASA buttons. MLK, the great last speech.
Want to thank the great Double R. Want to thank Tim and Marvell on Wise Words of Wollongong. I want to thank Double O for Economics Awareness Talks. Let's eat. Want to thank Big C Sports Podcast. I want to thank Reginald Jones Sawyer for coming on the Big C Sports Podcast. I want to thank Dr. Amos C. Brown for coming on the Big C Sports Podcast. I want to thank all the great people all over the universe for coming on the Big C Sports Podcast. National Black Wall Street Project.com. Thanks, brother Lean, co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, Northern California. All's great with all good people. Crescent Sports Media. Everybody knows you got to vote. I want to thank Governor Gavin Newsom for working with Dr. Shirley Weber, Secretary of the State of California, and all the people with a good mind to do the right thing. As we get ready, stand up for the kickoff! What a great day in Northern California. What did God say? He said, for all the land that thou seest will I give you. All the land that thou seest will I give you. All the great people making everything happen. That's righteous people in Northern California. Reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. Before I get into some sports, I want you to hear this.
When it comes to attracting wealth, the words you speak have incredible power. Words shape your reality. They influence your thoughts, your emotions, and ultimately, your actions. The right words, spoken with the right intention, can bring wealth into your life. In this video, secret words known to attract unimaginable wealth. There's more to these words than just speaking them. It's about understanding the deeper power, a power rooted in ancient knowledge. For centuries, mystics and sages have known that specific words hold the key to unlocking wealth. These words are not just random. They are chosen because they resonate with the energy of abundance. They align.
Nam Yoho Renge Yo, Nam Yoho Renge Yo, Nam Yoho Renge Yo.
Also lies in the occult knowledge of ancient sigils.
Welcome to the show. I love saying welcome to the show. Today's so different. Rondo de Fuentes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Well, that's Big C Sports. I'm so jazzed. I'm so hyped because I wanna say, wake up! That's my story. I'm sticking with it. And now I'm gonna give you some Big C's college football preview.
The combination of a carefully chosen word and a sigil creates a potent force that can influence your reality.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Big C, you already said that. Okay, I'm just having a great time today because I had some really good coffee. And I feel good because what's happening at the state capitol with Senate Bill 1050, Senate Bill 1331, and Senate Bill 1403 passing through the great state of California like lightning. All set for. I got some Big C's college football picks, and it starts out tonight. What did the great Rod Stewart say? He said, tonight's the night. The long wait is over. 2021, college football has arrived. Obviously, we had a couple of games already played last week, but now the big boys are starting to kick off. Some big games are happening in this country, and it starts tonight in the Bay Area, the South Bay. We have the San Jose State Spartans. We're taking on the Sacramento State Hornets, and the Hornets look to sting the Spartans over in San Jose. That kickoff at 7 o'clock coming up Pacific Standard Time. Also on television, we got the North Dakota State Bison at the Colorado Buffalo 8 o'clock p.m. on ESPN, and then Fubo TV. And expectations outside of Colorado have been kind of cool, but the hype is still hot in Boulder, Colorado. Primetime Deion Sanders still wants a more balanced offense after the bulk of the pressure to produce was on his son Shedeur to throw the ball in 2023. And then North Dakota State, they provide a great first test for the revamped offense, particularly on the ground. North Dakota State University has the experience and plenty of elite FCS talent. The Buffaloes have proven a Power 4 starter at every position on the field. Unlike last season, this is a much improved Colorado team, and the Buffaloes were proven in prime time. They're favored by 9.5. I'm going to say Colorado wins by 14. San Jose State was favored starting out by 7 over Sacramento State, and that point spreads down to 3.5. I have Sacramento State winning on a late field goal. They beat Stanford last year in the South Bay, and Sacramento area is loaded with talent. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. We got North Carolina at Minnesota. That's a 9 o'clock p.m. kickoff on Fox Sports, and that's happening at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and those teams combined for just 44 points last season when North Carolina had a future first-round pick. in quarterback Drake May. And with both teams are getting ready to start the new season 2024 with high expectations. But you play, what did Tony Dungy say? He said, you play to win the game. You got to play to win the game, and nobody wants to win the game more than teams that lost a starting quarterback that went on to the NFL. They want to show it's a team game. It's not just one player. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Prediction is the over-under is 50.5. But my thoughts is that even though Drake May is gone, I'm going to go with North Carolina winning that game. That's my story, and I'm taking with it. I got also some breaking news that came out with the 49ers that happened, and I want to make sure that I get it in because I just heard about it, and I don't even know, but it says breaking news report, the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk, they reached a 4-year contract extension. That's breaking news. You heard it on Big C Sports. May lightning strike! Bang, bang, not again! Bang, bang, not again. They got it done. Breaking news, Brandon Ayuk signing a 4-year deal with the San Francisco 49ers. An extension, that means that they're serious about trying to win a Super Bowl. That has eluded them. And with Brandon Ayuk, you got to have him on the team. Without him, the team is missing a great go-to guy. So that's my story. I'm sticking with it on that. I think that's a big signing for the San Francisco 49ers. And obviously, they got to get Trent Williams signed now because he's the best offensive left tackle in NFL football. If you got him signed, that's a lot better for your football team than going into a season without having him signed. So John Lynch and Shanahan, they proved to their fans, and also more than their fans, they proved to the team that they really want to make a run at winning Super Bowl 59. Super Bowl 60 actually kicks off in Santa Clara at beautiful Levi Stadium, and that's just 2 years down the road. It's a chance they can be defending Super Bowl champions if they get there. You got to play to win the game, but if they get there, having the likes of Brandon Ayuk is a major step in the right direction for the 49ers. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got a few more games to talk about in college football coming up over the weekend, and everybody looking forward to some great action. And I'm going to start after the appetizer week 0 fans now get their chance to see some of the big teams play. It starts Saturday, August 31st. A lot of teams are loaded. Georgia versus Clemson, and see the top-ranked Bulldogs at 13.5-point favorites, and I think they'll cover it. Georgia's very tough. They only had one loss in the last 3 years, and that was to Alabama, and they blew out Florida State in a bowl game. They're back for some pay revenge. They call the big payback down at Georgia. And then we have the Tigers, number 14. I think they're going to be overwhelmed by the Georgia Bulldogs. Other intriguing contests, Miami, the Hurricanes versus Florida, and Miami's a 2.5-point favorite. People expect Miami to have a great team this year. The ACC taking on the SEC. I'm going to go with Miami winning that game, as well as Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. And A&M's favored by 3. They're at home at College Station. Over 100,000 fans will pack the house down in College Station, and they'll be chanting, "Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last!" That's my story. I'm taking with it. So Clemson and Georgia kicks off noon Eastern time Saturday. It's going to be the first ranked contest for the good old boys down in Georgia. Alabama, I'm telling you, Alabama is a great program. I'll get to them a little bit later, but they'll be someone to reckon with in the SEC, as they always are. It's never just going to be Georgia. Alabama used to be the team that everybody was afraid of, but now Georgia's the new dog on the block. Was that a new? Did you say new dog, Pixie? Yeah, Georgia's the new dog on the block, and they don't take the collar off of UGA when it comes to playing football. All's fair and level work. Got some more big games around the world of college football. I got Penn State ranked number 8 in the country, an 8.5-point favorite over West Virginia. West Virginia has a good offense, but I think the Nittany Lions will get them again. They blew them out last year at 38-15. And head coach James Franklin, he's looking to do the same thing in 2024. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got Penn State winning that one by 10 points, if that makes sense to you. Got more good football coming up in college football around the country. I got the good old boys, the defending national champion, the Michigan Wolverines. They will take on the Fresno State Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs have been known to knock off some big teams. They've beaten Wisconsin in the past on the road. They also beat Colorado in the past on the road. I don't know if they'll get the win over Michigan because you get that good old boy home cooking in the Big Ten Conference, but the Bulldogs can put up some points. I look at this being a high-scoring game because Fresno State can get 25 to 27 points on anybody. Can Michigan get 30? We will see what happens on that kickoff at the Big House in Michigan All's Fran LeBoer. As I mentioned, North Carolina at Minnesota, Coastal Carolina at Jacksonville State, North Dakota State at Colorado. And then Friday, we have FAU at Michigan State, Temple's at Oklahoma, Western Michigan's at Wisconsin, and TCU, the Horned Frogs, they come to California to take on the Stanford Cardinal All's Fair and Leavenworth. I can't wait to see college football kicking off. I mentioned Western Kentucky's at Alabama. Alabama's favored by 32 points. Colorado State at Texas. Texas favored by 32 points as well. Akron at Ohio State. Ohio State's favored by 49 points. How do you do that? 49 points. And then Fresno State at Michigan. Some people have it Michigan winning that game by 2 touchdowns. I don't see that. And then Notre Dame, of course, at Texas A&M. UCLA, it's at Hawaii, favored by 14. And then Sunday, September 1st, we have the USC Trojans versus the LSU Tigers in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. And some people have LSU favored by 4.5. I have USC winning that game by a touchdown. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. May lightning strike! Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, today's been a different show for Big City Sports Podcast, and I like it that way. I like things being different, just like I like my collard greens different, if that makes sense to you. As I always tell you on every Big City Sports Podcast, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink, because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you say may be your own, or someone you love, or someone who's loved by somebody else. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that crap. You need more leader in your life. Leader is an acronym for love is the answer. If somebody's hitting you, I only hit you because you made me mad. Call 911. If someone's choking you, I only choked you because you made me mad. Call 911. If somebody's kicking you out, I only kicked you because you made me mad. Pick up the phone and call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to put up with that crap. If somebody loves you, keep this in mind. If somebody loves you, they don't hit you, they don't beat you, they don't kick you, and they don't choke you out. Call 911. Things change when the leaders get involved. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, I love telling you my great-grandparents, Mama and Pop. They were beautiful, loving, kind people, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly, always saying, wash your hands before you get that meat off that grill. I said, I'm hungry now, great-grandma. I don't need to wash my hands, and I don't need a plate. I'm hungry now. She said, boy, go wash your hands before you burn your fingers on that grill. I said, ouch! Great-grandma was right. I should have washed my hands and used a utensil instead of my fingers. I felt like I was hungry, but I should have taken her advice. Take your great-grandma's advice, if that makes sense to you. My great-grandfather Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, loved them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful grandparents, Mudden and Hezekiah, they were seers. Oftentimes they could look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, present, and their future. And they still help me to this day. I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys, the Little League baseball team, to the championship of the universe. Always seeing rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Mama, you hear my praise. Reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. I love you, mama, with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You know my prayers. Let them come true. I deserve it now. You know I do. You know I do. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. On my father's side, my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry, they were pastors. They had 3 churches. They owned 2 gas stations. I remember being 8 years old in Oakland, walking through the hallway about 10 o'clock at night, I felt somebody touch me in my forehead. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies? I said, what are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies? I said, cookies are baby crap. What I'm doing, Grandma, I'm going to get my reparations. And a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt. She said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And now Big C Sports Podcast is bringing you live from the state capital of California some bills that are being passed as you're breathing. We deserve reparations. In a just country, we deserve the Just Act for descendants of chattel slavery. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Love my grandparents with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. They also own 40 acres of land. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward. A voracious reader. Always saying go forward, don't look back because you don't have much backside. I said, Todd, I love my backside. But he said my backside wasn't big enough, so that's why I've been doing more squats so I can get a bigger backside. If that makes sense to you. You know, we love Malcolm X. And we also love the movie Pulp Fiction, especially the fight scene where we had Sam Jackson, John Travolta, Vin Rames, and Bruce Willis before the big fight. Vin Rames told Bruce Willis, he said, come sit your butt down, boy, and take this money. He said, your butt goes down in the 5th round. Say that, Flip! And so Bruce Willis said, okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round. And he told him, he said, that stinging sensation you feeling, well, that's just pride flipping with you. And he said what a lot of people like to say when it comes to sports and politics. He said, blood pride. He said, pride only hurts. It never helps. It says boxing is filled with a lot of unrealistic, muddly bluckers who think their butt gets better with time like fine wine, but it don't. In terms of vinegar, then it do. He said, you take this money, you're going to thank Uncle Marcellus someday when you're chilling in the Caribbean. Well, you're going to say Uncle Marcellus is right. We know that Bruce Willis did not take the dive, and he lost his LA privileges. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate and 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. Always trust God. I pray Isaiah 54:17 that no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. Daisy set up the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast back in the days of Salem Media. And for the first time in the history of the United States, NFL Monday Night Football was broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. They had never done that before until 2 black men in the crew started doing our thing. Daisy, you could be anything you want. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always trust God. Isaiah 54:17. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. You can be anything you want to be. Always trust God. Isaiah 54:17. That no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. A very smart man. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspapers and look up stats for Big C Sports Podcast studying teams and players. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went up. I've been Googling ever since, now on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms. One day Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You see your show come up. Well, that's before it was even on the air. And now it's streaming on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Malcolm, you can be anything you want to be. You know it's true. You're a good man. Always do the right thing. Always do the right thing. Always do the right thing. I'm so proud of you. You can be anything you want to be. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, like my great-grandparents coming out of that barn with his church buddies always saying, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Say, let's get ready to rumble. I love to say welcome to the show. SB nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no 3-way teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. All I have is this gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. But God said, for all the land that thou seest will I give you $100 million. And I believe that with all my heart, mind, body, and soul as we see reparations being passed in beautiful California. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love God. I love life with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. God, you hear my praise. I love giving you praise. I want to say, as I always do, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. He said, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want a champion. Reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. And then, as I always do in every Big C Sports podcast, I pay homage to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and President Abraham Lincoln. And you know what they want presidents to do? They say, reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. 2 more times. Reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. Say it again. Say it loud like James Brown. Reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.